All right, we got something special today on Advantage Connors. We have one of the all-time greats in baseball as a guest, and he looks a little something like you, Pops. What do you think? What do we got on the show?
Listen, to be compared to this gentleman, Pete Rose, to have him on the show and to be compared to him throughout the course of my career, and not only for our haircut, which was that was back in the day. Let's think of that. But even more so, the attitude and the passion and the love for what we did. Anytime Pete said that compared me to Pete, I walked out of there with the biggest grin on my face because he brought me into baseball. Pete Rose, so glad to have you on Advantage Connors.
Let me ask you a question, Jimbo. Okay. I don't know about your sport. I watch it. I mean, I used to play it 5 days a week, but your sport hasn't changed as much as my sport has changed. To be honest with you, I hate to say this, but my sport's kind of boring. Baseball has made the baseball game boring for us as fans. I think your sport is still very popular and the players are very good. Do you agree with that or disagree?
No, I agree. I said that you brought me into the game, and the reason being is because of the way you played. You went out there and gave it everything. It didn't matter if it was the first inning, the 15th inning. If you were exhausted, you were still, that's your nickname, right? Charlie Hustle. Yeah. And I look at that and I look back at the time. That didn't go over so well with a lot of the people, you being Correct. Like that, did it?
Yeah, we were hot dogs.
Well, That's what they were saying.
Yeah. Well, you were pretty fortunate, I think, when you were playing at the best to have competition like McEnroe. You guys were, you guys were the best, and you guys had battles. And you could tell that you probably liked each other, but when you played, you looked like you hated each other.
Well, I think it went further than that. I think that even went off the court too. Did you have guys like that?
No, but we always wanted to beat the Dodgers because the Reds and the Dodgers were in the same division.
Right.
And it seemed like every year we didn't win, the Dodgers would win. And but I didn't really hate anybody when I played. I hated pitchers. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know who you would hate in your game. I guess a guy with 110-mile-an-hour serve. I mean, that's a guy you would hate. But, I respected the players, but when I played the game, I wanted to beat their ass.
Yeah, so exactly.
I'm like you. All I want to do is win. That's all I preach today, Jimmy, is win. Get kids to understand the importance of winning and losing. How much better you feel when you win, when you accomplish something, you feel better. Okay. Sports are for winners.
Right.
You can either be a winner or you can be a loser. You can either be positive or negative. I don't want losing negative people on my team. Even when I manage the Reds, I try to create positive winning type people. If you got that type people, you got a better chance of winning. And your sport was so individual. Because it was up to Jimmy Connors. Sure, your coach could help you in preparation for the tournaments, but you had to play your ass off in tournaments or you don't get to the second round. That wasn't the way it was in baseball. I had 8 or 9 other guys on the Big Red Machine that helped me win every day. Mm-hmm. I think that's the difference in our sports.
Has that attitude changed though, Pete? You said things have changed. Certainly the money's changed.
Yeah.
And the athletes now, I guess in all sports, are said to be bigger, stronger, faster, better because of their training. Is that true?
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know about athletes train more than we train. Let me ask you a question. And if it's too personal, don't answer it. What's the most money you ever made in a year in the tennis world?
Out playing the tournaments and prize money, I think I might have gotten, to $1 million or so, maybe a little more.
Well, the most I ever made is when I was player manager, 85, 6, and I made 2.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most I ever. If I was playing today, 2.2 million would be a 210 hitter.
Right.
That's what 210 hitters make today.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it is something. And most of the tournaments that I watch in tennis, Nadal and Federer and those guys, were they getting $1 million to win tournaments?
Right. Well, to win the Grand Slams, they're making 3.5, something like that, 3.5 million to.
God bless them.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess my point to that, Pete, was, you laid the groundwork for all that.
Yeah.
And helped make all that possible.
Yeah.
And so, my feeling is in baseball, do the players today appreciate that?
I would think they do. I mean, just like we appreciated Marvin Miller. That's the guy that put our union together. Hey, Jimmy, my first year I signed with the Reds out of high school, went to Geneva, New York to play Class D ball. You know what my salary was? $400 a month. And we only worked 5 months.
Yeah. How'd you live? How'd you survive?
My first year in the big leagues in 1963, I upped that all the way to $7,000 a year. They make 550,000 now as rookies.
Right.
And I won rookie of the year, and I got a whopping $5,000 raise.
Well, listen, back at the time, you appreciated it.
I got more than that right here in my second match.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So
That's a good wad right there.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I just hope these guys appreciate, because I think I'm like your dad in this respect, because one thing that we both loved, okay, the way I watched it, when I watched your dad play, and I think he watched me play the same way. We loved and appreciated the fans.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have fans, you don't have nothing. What's the sense of going out and play a ball game? I learned a long time ago, Jimmy, that what seats are for? They're for asses.
Right.
Okay. You want an ass in every seat, every game you play. Some teams do it right, and some teams don't do it right. And I know when you played a tournament, whether it was a major or not, you wanted to see a full house.
Exactly.
You wanted people to be entertained. You wanted them to like you. You wanted to like the way you played. Okay. And that's I don't think players really worry about fans today.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, that's a lost art, isn't it?
I think it is. And it's a shame, but I just think that these guys make so darn much money. They don't care. They don't care. I mean, I never thought I'd ever say that, but I watch 2 or 3 games every day, and it's just, I'm tired of guys striking out and popping up and hitting a home run. Everything is home run, launch angle, whatever this stuff is. And all the guys who changed the rules in baseball over the last 10 years, they all went to college, but none of them played baseball. They were something. Okay. Right. You can't break up a double play. You can't pitch inside. You can't knock over a catcher. You can do any of those things. Your sport has not changed the rules. You still got to, you got to serve it. You got a volley, and you got to win points.
Right.
My sport has changed considerably. Your sport is still very entertaining, and you got, really good players. I don't know if those guys hit the ball any harder than you did. I mean, you can only serve it so hard, can't you?
Well, I mean, these guys today are, my son Brett, who I do this podcast with. You're talking to him right now. Also, yeah. He is in production and works for Tennis Channel, and he watches a lot of tennis, and he sees the way the game is played today probably as much, if not more than anybody. And the difference in today and then is the equipment has really changed the game.
Okay.
The rackets are bigger, the courts are more or less the same bounce all the time, and they made the clay a little faster, they made the grass a little slower, the bounce is a little higher. So they've altered some of the things that from my era till now. But like I said before, they say the athletes are, they're in better shape and they're bigger, stronger, faster, and but my contention, and I would like your view of this, nobody ever won a match from the gym. So I know that's important, but where do you learn the game?
Well, Jimmy, I was so fortunate to tell you this, that the only person in my life I ever idolized was my dad. Okay, and I actually met 7 presidents. You probably met some presidents too. But my dad was an athlete, and I grew up in the 50s and 60s. Okay, and my dad was a baseball player. I was the bat boy. A basketball player. I was the ball boy, and he was the greatest football player ever come out of Cincinnati. I was the water boy. So I was always going to a sporting event, and my dad was really fundamentally sound, and he would never yell at me in front of my peers. He'd always correct me on the way home as the right way to play the game. And why'd you do that? And here's why you shouldn't have did that. And I was really fundamentally sound as a player when I was young because my dad taught me the proper way of playing the game. I mean, my dad was a tough son of a bitch. I mean, I don't know how your relationship with your dad was, but we athletes that grew up when we grew up, we had to love our dads because they exposed us to sports, and they're the one driving us to the practice. And your mom probably drove you to practice half the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fun job to take Jimmy Connors to tennis practice because you probably practiced it 2 times a day, every day. That's why you were so damn good.
Well, the thing is, my mom taught me the game, Pete. Which is different. You talk about your dad. My dad made it possible for me to play, but my mother gave me the game.
Wow.
And that was back in the day when that wasn't really kosher, to have that. So I'm glad you brought your dad up because I want to know, because I learned from my mother and my grandmother. My grandfather was a boxer, so
That was my dad.
Really? So
He was featherweight champion of Ohio.
Oh, listen, I've been to Cincinnati, growing up in Cincinnati, that's no picnic. So, growing up and being that, learning that, being a tough kid and all that is, it was important. So obviously that carried over into your career, correct?
Oh, absolutely right. I mean, there's only one way to play, Jimmy, and you know this, play the right way. People pat me on the back all the time for the way I played. To be honest with you, every player that plays a game of baseball should play the way I played because I had the fans' best interest.
Right.
I played for the fans, and I was lucky because I was born 3 miles from the ballpark in Cincinnati.
Wow.
I was a hometown kid.
Right.
Now the Reds play today at Great American Ballpark. What street's it on? It's on Pete Rose Way. I go back there and I go over the bridge that says Pete Rose Way. I got to slap myself. Say, what the hell's going on here?
That's pretty special.
And I remember one time I went to Dayton, which is 50 miles north, and I had a tennis exhibition, and the guy put chairs on the court. And Bobby Riggs, remember?
Of course.
And he beat my ass, and I had chairs all over the court on his side. I still couldn't beat that guy.
he was a character.
Oh, he was a character. He was an entertainer.
Yeah.
He was an entertainer. That was a lot of fun. And of course, I went to Florida one time where I met George Bush to play in Chrissy Everett's tournament. Remember, she used to have the tournament down in Florida?
Right.
I went down there and played net one time too. That was a lot of fun. So, when I think back of all the good times I had and all the people I met throughout my life, it's if you live right once is enough to live. Yeah. And I've lived right, and I've had a lot of experiences and met a lot of great people, and I don't know where the time went, but it's gone. It's went by us. I had a birthday a week and a half ago. I was 80 years old. I can't believe it.
Congratulations. That's super.
And I can still walk. I can't hit anymore, but I can still walk. Jimmy, I never did retire. Okay, because once Ted Williams died, okay, they put him on ice. Remember, they put him on ice. And I was always worried that Ted Williams would come back and start playing and beat my record. Okay. So then they cut his head off, and I knew there was no chance that Ted ever coming back.
You knew you were safe then?
I was safe then because Ted had no head. He's not going to hit with no head.
Oh my God. So Pete,
go ahead.
I
think it's interesting because so many people think about both of you being so similar. And you guys are very similar, like from your upbringing all the way, to now.
Our
both
personalities
of
are
you-
similar.
Yeah,
Our personalities are similar.
exactly.
We didn't give a damn when we played because all we wanted to do was win. Okay. And we cared about the fans. And we probably took a lot of static throughout our careers. There's people who didn't like the way Jimmy looked, didn't like the way I looked, didn't like the fact that he won this tournament or that tournament or this tournament. And that's just the way it is. And we had to go through a lot of bullshit in our careers, but we did it. Okay. Because we were having fun. Okay. Everybody wanted to be us, but we were the only ones who could be us. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Because you can ask your dad, how much dedication you think your dad put into tennis?
A lot.
The same as I did with baseball, probably more than anybody else.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why we were so good. I don't know about Jimmy, but I didn't have all the greatest sports ability in my life, but I made up for it with desire and enthusiasm. That's what we had. We had enthusiasm. We had desire. We were entertainers. He was a tennis player. I was a baseball player, but we were entertainers because we thought we were entertainers. And when people went to watch us play, they got entertained. That's why we're so popular, even today.
Yeah,
Or-
that's what I think too, is
65.
that I think people were able to see through the bullshit.
Yes.
Like both you guys raised by parents, who taught you the grind,
Right.
and then you take it, to the pros, and then all the shit and people ripping on you for this or
Yeah.
that. They don't like that you run to first after a walk, or they don't
Yeah.
like the way he acts after a win. Who gives
Yeah.
a shit? Like it's about
Yeah.
winning, right?
Yeah,
I think that's
did
why
that. And I laughed at a lot of people after I did what I did to made fun of me, especially in the minor leagues.
yeah.
What are you doing running the first on a base on balls? You showboat, you Hollywood hot dog. Well, I laughed at him later on
Yeah.
because I'm the guy that got all the hits. I'm the guy that's got all the records. My best record, Jimmy, is this, and you'll understand this. In the history of sports, okay, I played in more winning games than anybody ever. 1,972 winning games. That's just regular season games. But
Right.
what is that? That's a credit to my teammates. Let me give you a lineup real quick, okay? This is a lineup of guys I played with and my teammates at one time or another. Catcher bench, best catcher in the history of baseball.
Mhm.
Third base, Mike Schmidt, best third baseman in the history of baseball. Barry Larkin, Joe Morgan, I think best second baseman in the history of baseball. Tony Perez, Frank Robinson, one of the top 5 players in the history of baseball. Tim Raines, Andre Dawson,
Mm.
Tom Seaver was a right-hand pitcher. Steve Carlton was a left-hand pitcher, and
Mhm.
Gary Carter's my backup catcher. That's the type of players I got to hang around with.
Wow.
You got to play against McEnroe. You got to play against Yvonne Lindell,
Right.
guys like that who are really good players. And you have memories about those guys. They beat you sometimes and you kicked their ass sometimes.
Right.
And when you kicked your ass, you were pissed. You were
Mm.
pissed. I know you were pissed.
Right.
I could tell you're pissed walking off the court. Okay. But that's what I liked about it. That's what people loved about you. You hated to lose.
Right.
Okay. Every athlete should hate to lose.
Mm.
Am I wrong by saying that?
No. And I think
I-
you're right that everyone could relate to you guys. Because like a lot of people, they get fame, they kind of change, they become different, but you guys never stopped grinding. You
Right.
loved the grind. And your average working guy, your average fan relates like that with that. They have to
Imagine-
get up
imagine
every
your
day to go
dad-
to work.
Imagine your dad playing somewhere, just a participation trophy. What is that all about?
but that's the way our kids are growing up now.
Yeah, not my kids.
No.
I got
not
grandsons playing baseball. I got another grandson as a football player at Xavier High School in Cincinnati. Jimmy, he's the most aggressive kid I've ever seen. He's about 5'11", 214. And he just turned, he's a sophomore. He's a middle linebacker. And he loves to hit. All he wants to do is knock you on your ass. And he's always around the ball. And his school won the state championship last year in football. And he's going to be a starter this year. So his dad is just like me. And he's just like his dad. So that makes him just like me. And he's got the same name. He's Pete Rose III.
How about that? Pete, I got to go back a step because you said we had passion and we had desire. Are the intangibles forgotten? Go ahead.
Yeah, because all you see guys that hit home runs, And they go in the dugout and they're laughing and have fun. And you look at the score and they're losing 9-1. So
Mhm.
what? So you hit a home run, big deal. Now, if you hit a home run, the score's 9-9, then smile in the dugout and have fun. Okay.
Mhm.
Because there's too many bad teams in baseball. Okay. You don't have bad players in tennis. You don't make the tour if you're not a good tennis player. Correct?
Yeah, you're
But
right.
there's a lot of guys playing in the big leagues that aren't, they're just not big league baseball players, but they got 30 teams and you got to fill up the rosters.
Right.
If I was ASU, I don't know if you follow baseball, but if I was ASU right now, who's got a chance to go in the World Series this year? You could probably name me 10 teams. Okay. That means 20 teams don't have a chance because
Right.
there's 30 teams in baseball.
Mhm.
So what does that create for those 20 teams? Let's play for myself. Let's see how much money I can make because we're not going anywhere. We're
Mm.
not going to the playoffs. We have no chance. And that's a funny feeling when you're an athlete and you don't have a chance to reach in the top. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
You can't reach the top. There's something wrong with the sport you're in.
Seems like everything is so specialized now too.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
only trying to do one thing, either hitting a home run or you're there to pitch one inning or even one out,
Right.
you know, where no one's a complete player like, you know, you were back in the day.
Well, there's some players play today, they don't even own a glove. They're DHs.
Yeah.
Mm.
They never owned it. They don't even own a baseball glove. That'd be like a tennis player don't have a racket. We're going to use your hand? What the heck is the difference? You got to have a glove to be a baseball player, don't you? I thought
Right.
you did, but maybe you don't.
Well, it's all part of it.
It's all part of it.
So when you first came in and broke in, correct me, I think it was 1963, correct?
Right.
Yeah. When you came in, what was your first attitude? And as you put on that uniform, that Cincinnati Red uniform, and you went out for your first game, what were your thoughts?
Well, you know what, Jimmy? I was fine at the ballpark because when I grew up, every kid in Cincinnati wants to be a Cincinnati Red. And all of a sudden, it's opening day. And I went to spring training as a non-roster player, and I made the team, which is unusual to begin with. And I'm nervous. It's opening day. Cincinnati used to have the first game of the season, and if you had a ticket, you got out of school for opening day. We played the first game of the season. Everybody else played on Tuesday. And I'll never forget, I'm in the dugout, and the Cincinnati Enquirer photographer came up and he brought my mom and dad down the tunnel in those days and said, could I get a picture of your son with you two for the paper tomorrow? And that really woke me up that I'm playing second base for the Cincinnati Reds. And the first time up, I was so nervous, I didn't know whether to wind my ass or scratch my watch. And the guy threw me 4 straight pitches and I walked, and the next guy hit a home run, Frank Robinson, and I scored the first run of the year. But I was elated to be a Cincinnati Red on opening day. And it was just, it was like dying and going to heaven. I don't know if I'll ever experience that, Jimmy, but it's similar.
Yeah. Hey, you know what they say, Pete, you go to heaven to see your friends.
Yeah.
Or for the weather, you go to hell to see your friends. So it's a great thing. So let me ask you, you've gone through playing baseball, your career, you went from playing to a manager and a player, and then to a manager. The action and the excitement and what you had during that time. I know you have youpictrade.com now.
You pick. Yeah. What I do, Jimmy, is you can pay so much, and every day I'll pick games. Not bet on them. I'll pick them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm using my expertise to break down these teams. And if you want to follow my picks, I'm going to win a hell of a lot more than I'm going to lose. Okay.
Right.
I didn't when I was gambling, but I'm doing it now.
Listen, I know how that goes. I've always been an action guy like you, Pete.
Yeah.
And I had the best of it with the tennis, like you had the best of it with the baseball. And what is it about gambling that sucks you in? Is it the action?
It is. here's one thing about me and gambling. When I gambled, I did not like to gamble on anything that I couldn't watch.
Mhm.
Okay. I like to sit at home and watch a baseball game. I like to sit at home and watch a Monday night football game. Okay. I'm not hurting anybody,
Right.
but I made mistakes. I broke the rules and I paid for it.
Mhm.
Okay. I got suspended in 1989. We're at 2021. So I've been suspended over 30 years. I mean, I could have killed her, Jimmy, and I'd have been out by now.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
I get it. I get it. But I talked to my son Brett, and Brett's 41, and he gets you. He understands you. He knows you.
Yeah.
And my thoughts, and I hope I'm not stepping out of bounds here,
No worries.
is that your career is on the field.
Yeah.
And what you produced on the field. Just like I was inducted in the Hall of Fame because of the way I played tennis.
No question about it.
And so, that's always kind of bothered me, that, how things were handled with you back then.
Well, they weren't really fair to me, but when you make a mistake, you can't complain. But I have to tell you one truth, okay? And I swear to God on this. I have never bet on a tennis tournament.
Really?
Well, you
And if I would have bet on you. And if you lost, I'd have got on your ass. If I put my
listen.
money on Jimmy Connors, he better beat McEnroe. Or I'm going to get on his ass.
Pete, call me. We got lots to talk about. I'll tell you all about the tennis gambling.
Well,
It's actually fun.
I mean, I like racehorses. I was in the racehorse business, and that's about the extent of gambling I do today. And like I'm sitting here right now, there's Aria, there's Mandalay Bay, there's Caesars. I mean, they're right in my backyard. Okay, but because my business is kind of slow right now because Vegas is starting to pick up. But what do I do for a job? Okay, I work 15 days a month, sign autographs for 5 hours a day. Not at a casino, at a mall. And this is the only town where this gig works. I'll tell you why, Jimmy, because last year, 40 million people visited Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And they were expecting more this year, but the pandemic took care of that. But they're coming back now. So that's why I live in Vegas. You'd be surprised how many people say, well, he lives in Vegas because he's a gambler. Okay. You won't ever catch me in a casino here. I'm not a casino gambler. I bet on horses. I'm not a casino gambler. I don't play craps. I don't play blackjack. I don't do things like that, but I do bet on horses. And the only problem, most of the time when I bet on a horse, it runs like Mr. Ed.
I've been there.
You
we must have had the same horse.
Pete, how do you feel then about today, how the gambling is becoming more and more normalized?
I don't know if your dad knew this, though. Not last year, but the year before. Okay, there's 30 managers in baseball. Did you know that before every game, the manager has to fax his lineup to the commissioner's office 15 minutes before the game? And you know what they do with it? They fax it to MGM Resorts.
Yeah.
That's how much in bed baseball is with the casinos, which is fine because they're paying these players $400 million. They got to create income other places. And there's like 15 or 17 ballparks in the baseball that have casino signs inside the ballparks.
Right.
So it's okay to take their money. And I understand what happened in 1919 with the Black Sox scandal. I know what Joe Jackson did. I mean, he hit 370 in that World Series, but he took money to throw the games. Okay. So I don't know. Joe Jackson was a great player. Okay. I didn't throw any games. I bet on myself.
Right.
I bet on my players because I retired as a player and I needed something extra. Sure. I didn't think I was going to get caught. Anybody breaks the rules never thinks you're going to get caught. If you're speeding down the highway, you don't think there's a cop behind you. All of a sudden he appears. That's just the way it is. That's life. I can't change it. it's part of my history and I had to live with it. But I'm still a good guy. I'm still great to the fans.
Right.
Okay. I'm still popular wherever I go, but that's okay because I'm not going to get on Jimmy Connor's podcast and bitch about being suspended from baseball because I screwed up. Okay. I screwed up. If I was going to shoot somebody, I'd pull the trigger to my head because I'm the one that messed up. But I'm going to continue to be a good person. I'm going to continue to try to sell the game of baseball. Because I believe, I could be wrong, I believe I'm the best ambassador baseball has. And they, listen to this, Jimmy, you'll get a kick out of this. The Reds play at the ballpark in Cincinnati. It's called Great American Ballpark, okay? I'm from Cincinnati. I was born 3 miles from the ballpark. I have never been allowed to go in the clubhouse or the batting cage at the ballpark. Now, you think I couldn't help a young player by taking him in the batting cage? That's how shallow these people are.
It's a grudge, don't you think? I mean, everything that you do, you go and you sell out, 40, 50,000 seat stadiums or 25,000 seat stadiums for tennis, and you lay your reputation on the line every time you walk out there. And then it almost seems like, when it comes right down to it, if you can't do that anymore, they just kind of, like brushing you aside and say, well, we'll take a chance on the next guy that can sell that out. And is that a fair statement?
I think it is. I think it is because I'm not talking about players now because I get calls every day from players. Want me to watch them on TV because they may be in. I told them never admit you're in a slump. Okay, you're in a lull. You're not getting any hits right now. Okay, everybody goes over. I went over 22 once. I remember one time my son was playing baseball and he called me one day and said, Dad, can you help me? And his name was Pete. I said, what's up, Petey? He said, I'm 0 for 22.
Oh,
what? He said, I'm 0 for 22. I said, what the hell are you calling me for? Call Concepcion. I never went 0 for 22. I went over 4 a couple of times. So you got to look at it. You can't ever and never admit that the pitcher's got you in a slump. You're just in a lull where you're not getting any hits. Okay, I went 0 for 22 once. To God's honest truth, and I should have had 11 hits. We were playing in Chicago where the grass is that thick. We were playing in LA where the grass is that thick, and my one hoppers would hit the grass and stop. They backhand and throw you out. So I wasn't worried because I was hitting the shit out of the ball, but I wasn't getting any hits. Jimmy, I made 9,800 outs. That's more than anybody. Think about that. 9,800 outs.
Wow.
I batted 16,000 times.
Wow. That's crazy. That is beyond.
I heard more national anthems than anybody in the history of baseball.
And take me out to
I
the ball
still
game.
don't know the words.
Oh my God.
Getting back to the gambling thing, I think you're in a position where a lot of people would think you could go the other way with it and be bitter and not like the game and hold a grudge back at them. And you're not. You're like literally the best ambassador the game could ask for. And you think that MLB over the course of time would see this and not think, he's only for himself, or these cliches they've said in the past. Like, you love the game so much, you can tell in everything you do.
I do. I mean, I do love the game because it's been, like Tony Perez would say, baseball, but very, very good to me. That's the way he would say it. But baseball has been good to me. It's given me everything that I got or ever will have. It's because of the game of baseball.
Right.
And I'm not the type of guy who's going to badmouth the game. I'm going to badmouth the game because I screwed up. That don't make much sense to me at all. Yeah. But, some people forgive and some people never forgive.
Right.
Okay. It's the worst thing in the world. Jimmy Connors, let me ask you a question. When I bet on baseball, did I hurt you?
Not a bit.
Did I hurt your son? I hurt my son because I hurt my family. That's the only people I hurt when I bet on baseball. And that's the way I look at it. But the baseball people feel differently. Okay. They're always worried about the rules and everything like that. So rules, I broke the rule and I'm going to tell you right now, I never told anybody this. Me getting suspended from baseball probably cost me $100 million. Because it's been 30 years, and I was managing the Reds, making $3 million a year. That's
Mhm.
that's 3 times 30. That's 90 million right there. You
Right.
know, I'd have got some off the field stuff. Think
Mhm.
about that. So for people who say I hadn't been penalized, they don't know the really scoop about the whole situation. And I'm not complaining there because I screwed it up. I wish I hadn't. Okay. I wish I hadn't. If I hadn't, I'd had my own podcast today, not just Jimmy. I'm calling Jimmy Connors to do my podcast.
It would be a
That
pleasure.
sounds like pretty good though.
Yeah.
I
But
think one
Pete,
yours will be pretty entertaining. I'm having a feeling.
Well, we're honest.
Yeah.
We're honest. And you're asking questions that I'm not going to duck. I'm not going to try to make up an answer because I lived it. And if you
Mhm.
live it, you can talk about it. Your dad can talk about it because he lived it. Good, bad, and indifferent.
Right.
Okay. Everything went roses for Jimmy Connors in his career. He had some drawbacks. I'm sure he did, but he got over them. He hurdled them. He went on to the next deal. Okay. How old was you when you retired from competitive tennis?
41.
Well, I led the
Regular
league in
tennis.
hits when I was 40.
I,
And I
I,
retired,
I-
but baseball is easier than tennis. Okay, as far as on the body. And I played till I was 45 years old.
spectacular.
They made me quit. I remember I told you a story about Ted Williams. I never did retire because I was always scared he's going to come back and beat my record.
I'm with you. I'm with you. But Pete, your love for the game is so obvious. But look, there's other things that have happened in other sports also.
Yeah.
In basketball, they had a controversy with the ref.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Houston Donaghy, right? The Houston Astros.
Stealing his signs.
Right.
What do you think about that? I mean, that's
Well-
ridiculous. Like when they talk integrity of the game, when they talk
Yeah.
about you.
Well, let me tell you one thing about that, okay? And I mean this sincerely. If you could be a hitter in the big leagues, if I told you what was coming. If you know what's coming, baseball was easy,
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
You don't know what's
Listen.
coming, it becomes a little harder. That's like if your dad was playing and this guy always served at the backhand or always served at the forehand, you would know that. Now, if he can do either, it's confusing. You can't really guess at it.
You
Mhm.
can
Okay,
start
it's just like
cheating when you
baseball.
know it's coming.
If I know a fastball is coming, I can look for it. If I know a curveball is coming, I could look for it. That's just the way it is. But if you know what's coming, hitting is not that difficult.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a sport where you fail 7 out of 10 times and go to the Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
Jimmy
Right.
Connors been served 3 out of 10 and go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't do
No.
it.
Well, I mean, was anybody more happy when COVID hit than the Houston Astros? 'Cause
Oh,
they were
yeah.
coming into about to
yeah.
be the start of the season.
They didn't have to take all the bullshit from around the league. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
And so
You're
like a year's
absolutely
gone
right.
by and they've kind of like gotten, buried behind this huge pandemic story and all
And
this
they
other
never
stuff.
blamed a player. What?
No.
Not one player.
No, that's what
Not
I'm
one
saying.
player suffered any consequence.
So when they talk integrity, when it comes to like the stuff that you went through in '89,
Yeah.
how can they let this fucking thing slide? When they didn't even, none of the players got suspended. So what happens if Altuve
Because they
goes to
can't
the Hall
spell
of Fame?
integrity. Baseball can't spell integrity. Okay. I mean, they think they're doing a hell of a job. And I would have to say, I hope it's not true, but I think the ratings of baseball are probably going down. And
Why do you say that?
just the way the game's played. There's too many bad teams.
Okay.
And the thing I hear all the time, Jimmy, about baseball, and they never address it, is the games are too long.
Yeah.
And because
Interesting.
every pitch, every player steps out, readjusts his gloves, and there's so many pitching changes today, and it takes time for pitching changes. But there again, people are fickle too. Okay, if you're a Dodger fan and you go to the Dodger Stadium tonight, and the Dodgers get beat 1-0, the game took an hour and 50 minutes, you're pissed off on the way home. If you come back tomorrow night and the Dodgers win 16-2, and the game took 4 hours, you're happy on the way home.
Mhm.
It don't make any sense. And if you watch the baseball on TV, There's two things fans are doing in the stands. You know what they are? Sure you do. They're eating,
Right,
or they're talking on their phone.
right.
One of the two. And
Mhm.
people complain to me all the time about the ticket prices for baseball. Baseball will always be the best bargain in sports because you play 81 home games.
Mhm.
But with these guys that complain, they'll buy the ticket, they'll go to the ballpark, they'll eat 3 hot dogs and drink 4 beers. Eat before you go to the ballpark. Are you going to the ballpark to eat, or are you going to the ballpark to watch a game?
Yeah, but isn't
Kind of like
it?
eating too. It's pretty fun. It's fun
Yeah.
to have a couple hot dogs and a beer.
The people who make out the best are concessionaires.
Totally.
They love rain delays because everybody
Right.
goes and buys another beer.
Right. But it's the experience now, right? It's don't it, but and I kind of look at that with tennis too, because a lot of the bigger tournaments, I'll say the one in Palm Springs, the one in Miami, the Grand Slams, they make it, so the tennis isn't really the show. They have great restaurants, they have entertainment, they have bars, they have a lot of other things. I'm sorry.
They have like Nobu and Indian
Yeah.
Wells. So it's like all this other stuff besides just the tennis.
Yeah.
But
So
the thing about tennis, Jimmy, the fans have to be quiet. They'll kick your ass out of there.
yeah, see, I never liked that either.
Well, You didn't have many hecklers, did you?
No, but I like the fans being a part of it. And when we first moved to Flushing Meadows from the Forest Hills, the West Side Tennis Club, when the airplanes were flying over and people were walking in between during the game, and that never bothered me. I kind of like that. I knew that that it was alive and people were there.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, and golf is the same way. It's
Yeah.
don't if you can't concentrate, I would
4-footer. He has a 4-footer on the 18th hole. If he makes this, he's going to win the tournament. I'm saying, what the hell are you whispering for?
right.
I'm turning my volume up on my TV. Speak up, goddammit. I can't hear you.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to stand in like in any baseball player with 45,000 people yelling and screaming and going crazy and try to hit a 98 mile an hour fastball. I mean, that was, that's where concentration, that's where, your technique, that's where everything comes in my opinion. Why do some guys do that and others don't? That's my question.
I played a game one time at Shea Stadium in the playoffs in '73. Okay. We had to leave the field because so much debris thrown on the field. And this is the God's honest truth. I'm playing left field, and the guy threw an empty Jack Daniels bottle out of the third deck and missed me like a foot and a half. That's the truth. And just like a damn New York fan, the bottle was empty.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
He wasn't going to give me a swig. He drank it all. Threw it at me.
Pete, you weren't just a one position player. You played, 5 different positions, right?
Yeah. Well, here's another thing I do at banquets. And please don't ask me my favorite position, because that's awful personal. Okay. But every one of us on this podcast right now have a favorite position, and I'm the only one that's going to say first base.
Oh no.
I made a team with 5 different positions: first base, second base, third base, left field, right field.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to move to let other guys play. But every time I moved, it helped the team. It helped the team get better. And that's why I wasn't afraid of failing. Because when I went from second to third, I worked hard. When I went from there to the outfield, I worked hard. Because you had to own a glove. You had to play defense in the National League. American League, you can be a DH. That's it. That's like pinch hitting 4 times a night. That's a dream job. That's a dream job.
Mm-hmm.
You don't waste no energy on defense.
You're just like an offensive player in football.
Yeah. So sports have changed. NBA is all 3-pointers. Okay. Baseball is all home runs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey's still a good game. Those guys are tough. They beat the hell out of each other. I'm getting ready to watch the Golden Knights beat Minnesota tonight to advance to the second round. And if you guys ever come to Vegas, Jimmy, this is the truth. If you want an experience, and I know you've had a lot of experience with venues and people, the best experience you'll ever have is going to a hockey game in Las Vegas, which is 9/10 of a mile down the street on the same side of the street I live on.
Mhm.
It is an unbelievable experience because you know one thing about Vegas, they know how to put a show on.
Oh, yeah.
And it's such a fun event to go to a hockey game here in Vegas. I've been to hockey games in other cities and they're nice, but it's nothing like Las Vegas. There's always something going on, something exciting. It's amazing. It's amazing.
What do you think about Vegas kind of getting into pro sports? You know, for so long they wouldn't have the, sports in Nevada on the book, so now they've opened it up with the Raiders and like the.
Well, I just think it's going to be too hot for a baseball team unless they get a dome stadium. And that's going to take a couple of years to build. The football stadium is open, but we haven't had a crowd in there because of the virus. And that's a beautiful looking stadium. T-Mobile Arena, where the hockey team plays, is a beautiful facility. And I don't know if Vegas could support a baseball team or not. I don't think people are going to go to a baseball game in Vegas in June, July, and August. It's too damn hot.
Right.
It's too damn hot. And you got to have a dome stadium. And it takes what, a couple of years to build a dome stadium?
Yeah.
Baseball, Las Vegas now, Jimmy, has 3 million people living in it.
Right. I know.
That's a big city.
Yeah.
That's a big city.
Yeah, but
they have a place at the football stadium, okay? Hill does, where you can go up during the game and make a bet on the game inside the stadium.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's Vegas.
Changed, huh?
They're not worried about it. They're not worried about it.
Yeah.
But Pete, you say Vegas is hot. I've been to Cincinnati in the summertime. I was born and raised in a small town in southern Illinois, right across the river from St. Louis, where the St. Louis Cardinals play. That's no picnic in the summer either.
Oh no, neither's Atlanta.
Right.
Neither's Atlanta. But you play mostly night games though.
Interesting. Yeah, good point. Yep.
Were you from Carbondale?
No, I'm from a little town called East St. Louis, Illinois.
Mike Shannon used to take me to Cahokia Downs.
That's right.
Or Fairmount Park.
Fairmount Park.
It was horse racing, but it was mule racing. It really was.
Oh, that's my backyard.
Yeah.
That's 3 minutes from where I was born and raised. But
that was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. Born and raised there, and it was a good place to be from. And
well, Cardinal fans are great. They got great fans in St. Louis.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they sell out almost every game. And like when I was a free agent, going through free agency, I went to St. Louis and negotiated with Mr. Bush. And I wish I'd have took his offer because he offered me a already proven Budweiser distributorship.
Oh boy!
And I went to Ted Turner. He offered me $1 million a year. Mr. Kaufman in Kansas City offered me oil wells that we're producing. And I went to Pittsburgh with Mr. Galbraith. And let me tell you something, Jimmy. If he'd have told me, okay, he was into racehorses.
Mm-hmm.
If Mr. Galbraith would have told me that he had a Derby winner that had balls that big, I'd have been a Pittsburgh Pirate.
So you're interested in do you own horses?
I used to. And the horse business is fascinating. And there's a lot of, as you know, a lot of rich people in the racing industry. So, but it's my passion. I like to go to the racetrack. I love the Triple Crown. I love the Breeders' Cup. I mean, I can name horses because I follow it. Okay, because I could never badmouth it because there's so many great people in that business.
Remember Charismatic, the horse Charismatic?
Sure.
Yeah, we remember we went and saw her run in Preakness, the second one.
Right.
So when she won.
I remember Secretariat won the Belmont by 31 lengths.
Yeah, that was some
31
horse.
lengths.
That's crazy.
That's almost an eighth of a mile.
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember Don Zimmer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Yankees.
Well, Don Zimmer and I grew up in the same neighborhood, and our dads were Little League teammates. And we went to the same high school, same coach, same American Legion coach, same Little League coach. And Don was a big gambler. And his dad was a big gambler. But his dad was the nicest guy in the world. And I tell people that Don was 4 or 5 years older than me. When he was 14 or 15, I was 9 or 10. Our dads would take us to River Downs racetrack every Saturday. And I tell them that's where all that shit started. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a good introduction.
Start somewhere.
And Mr. Zimmer, I'm 10 years old. This is 1951 or whatever. And Mr. Zimmer, I saw him one day and he said, Petey, he said, I had a dream last night about white hats and black hats and round hats and square hats. And I went to work. He owned a produce company, and a Cincinnati Red fan gave him a new Cincinnati Red hat. And he, as he did every day, he ate lunch and he went 10 miles east to River Downs racetrack. And they opened up the program, and number 1 was Top Hat. Now he's dreaming about hats. Guy gave him a new Cincinnati Red hat. Top Hat is number 1. This is 1951. He bet $1,000 to win on Top Hat. Really? He said, they're coming around 2 turns. They're coming down the home stretch. The last jump, a 50 to 1 shot beat Top Hat. And I felt so bad. And I said, Dud, that was his name. I said, who won the race? He said, Sombrero.
No.
Oh my God. Oh my.
So if Don would have been Spanish, he'd have won 50,000.
Oh my God. The stories. What would you have been if you wouldn't have been a baseball player?
Football. I was better in football. I almost went to University of Tennessee to play football. My dad was the greatest football player.
Yeah, I know your dad was.
Cincinnati. And I wanted to be a football player, but I didn't like school. I didn't like school. And, you know, Jimmy, if I hadn't had an uncle who was a scout for the Reds, I'd have never got a chance to play. I'd have never got a chance to play because I was too small. I grew after I got out of high school. When I graduated from high school, I weighed 155. 2.5 years later, I made the Reds. I weighed 202. I got bigger.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know how to get that off. It's not my phone.
What's up?
Is that my phone ringing?
No, you're good. You're good.
I apologize.
So what position would you play if you had gone into football? You
I was
think?
a running back.
Running back?
Yeah. Option quarterback. I was a kicker. I brought the kicks back. That was my passion because my dad was a great football player in Cincinnati. Yeah. And then when my dad played, the only TV football we had was the Cleveland Browns every Sunday in Cincinnati. And he played, he used to play where there'd be 8,000 to 10,000 people at every game. And I would take the hat through the crowd at halftime to try to, you know, pick up the money to pay the referees. I was the money guy. And I was the water boy. I was the water boy for the team. Those are the good old days. Those were the good old days. And I can't tell you, Jimmy, how many times in my life that people come up to me in Cincinnati, and they used to say, "If you're half the man your dad was, you're going to be a hell of a man." I never got tired of hearing that because I knew what they were saying and I knew what they meant. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of guy my dad was. My dad was one tough SOB.
That's a good role model, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't screw with him unless I had a 9mm because he'd beat the hell out of you.
Well, do you think
the hell out of you?
Do you think
he was a banker? He worked at Fifth Third Bank.
Yeah. Do you think a little of that?
I used to work for Carl Lindner. You know who he is, Jimmy. He's the one that tennis tournament in Cincinnati.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's north of town. Yeah. You played there many times.
I did many times, is right. Yeah.
That's up by Kings Island, up toward Kings Island.
Right. It is now, but back before it was in Cincinnati. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think some of the things that people gave you shit for, as far as hustling so much and all that stuff, you know, you were almost doing that, not for any of them, but for almost to live up to the high expectations your dad had kind of instilled in you?
I'll give you one story, then you'll know how I was raised. Okay. I used to get to the ballpark every day and I'd put Pete Rose Sr. 4 tickets. And he would never wait after the game. This one particular night, I come out to the car and he's standing by my car. So right away, I think my mom's sick because she was a hypochondriac. She tried to die every year, and she outlived my dad by 31 years, believe it or not. And my dad looks at me and said, let me ask you something, son. He said, that third time up tonight. And I was thinking, I had a man on third and 2 outs. He said, when you hit that ball to second base, did you run hard to first? And I had to think about it because I was pissed off because I missed a pitch and I didn't run hard. And I said, I guess I didn't. He said, don't embarrass me in this town like that. I taught you when you hit the ball, you run till the umpire says out or safe. I
Right.
said, yes, sir. I'll see you tomorrow. When you're getting scrutinized that closely, Jimmy, your
Yeah,
dad probably would do that. Your mom would do that to you.
that's right.
Did you hustle on that point? When you were, when you're 40, did you hustle? Or did you just knock off that point and lose the damn game? That's the way, when your parents are that closely watching you, it puts a lot of strain on you. And he was there every night.
Right.
Okay. Because we were from there. He went to every freaking game, saw every one of my at-bats, and he stuck around that one time to tell me that I wasn't hustling.
Can you instill that in somebody? You got it from your
He
dad.
did me.
What he gave you.
Me. See, because Jimmy, I think I'm a lot like you because I didn't want to disappoint my parents,
That's it.
especially my dad. My mom didn't go to every game, but my dad went to every game. And if I'd embarrass him, or if I'd embarrass myself, it's embarrassing him. And he was a big man in Cincinnati. I was the second most popular Pete Rose until I become a star baseball player. And I understood it. I understood what he was saying because it's just like when I was a little leaguer. Never criticized me in front of the teammates. He'd always explain to me on the way home why you don't do this. This is what you should have did. Okay, do it the right way. Be fundamentally sound. Okay, because if you're fundamentally sound, you got a better chance of winning the game, and that's why you're playing.
Right.
When I was a little leaguer, I wasn't the best player on the team. We had a guy named Ed Brinkman who got a big bonus to sign with the Washington Senators, and he got traded to Detroit. He still may have some defensive records for Detroit. He was like a Babe Ruth in Cincinnati. Okay, I got a contract because of one reason. I had an uncle who was a scout. I got a bonus. I cashed it at the drugstore. That's how small it was.
Wow.
That's crazy.
What, it fascinates me, because you've got kids, I've got kids, and sometimes when the parents get involved, some kids, listen and want that, and other kids don't. They'd rather find a pro, that they can communicate with away from the parents.
Well, one thing I always worried about, Jimmy, is I had two sons who played. I always worried about what the coaches knew or didn't know. I remember one time my son Tyler, who's right here, he was playing in Beverly Hills Little League. And I go to a practice one night and the coach don't know he's my son. And I'm sitting behind home plate. His name's Max Eisenberg, okay? And he's out there telling these kids to do this and do that. And I'm watching and I'm saying, what the hell is he teaching them? So I couldn't sit no longer. I got out from underneath behind home plate and I walked out and he recognized who I was. And I said, Max, what are you teaching these kids? He was a movie producer, but he's teaching my kid how to play baseball. And from that day on, I become assistant coach because I helped him. Because all you fear as a dad, as the coach is coaching your son, first of all, you appreciate because they're not getting paid. They're taking valuable time out of their life to work with your kid. I just hope that he knows what the hell he's talking about. Because that's where you start. When you're 8, 9 years old, that's where you start to learn. I was 9 years old when I become a switch batter. Okay. And I wasn't a switch hitter, guys. I was a switch batter. There is a difference. Your dad's on top of it, bro.
I'm getting it. I'm glad you said it.
That's funny. Well, one of our favorite, we've been to a lot of sporting events and played some baseball growing up, but our favorite probably sporting memory, besides from his accomplishments, was a baseball game. I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona, going to college, and we went to game 6 and 7 of the 2001 World Series when the Diamondbacks came back and beat the Yankees. And they won in the bottom of the ninth. It's like, storybook.
Broken bat hit the center field.
Right. Yeah. Remember Jeter was kind of coming in.
Gonzalez hit it.
Yeah, but Jeter was in because they did, and it got over his head a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that was the best maybe sporting event moment I'd ever been in, that atmosphere. Yeah. So baseball is so cool to so many people, it becomes like a pastime. And I think, you guys endear yourselves to so many people, like different guys come and there's the prima donnas and the guys who don't care about the fans and it's, beneath them after a while, but you guys worked hard every day, never gave up, always gave 110%. And I think, everybody out there ignores a lot of the other bullshit that you had to run into and sees you for what you guys really bring to the game. And that's why I think you guys are so similar and beloved.
The greatest moment I ever had individually, I had a lot of great moments, like 75, when the first time I took that trophy and held it up, become a world champion for the first time. That was after I failed in 70, failed in 72. In 73, we lost the playoffs to the Mets. But in 75, we played Boston. We won the World Series for the first time. Now, I don't know what the best ovation you ever got, Jimmy. I don't even remember if you remember. But when I broke the record, 9/11/1985, at 8:01 p.m. against San Diego in Cincinnati, I'm at first base. This is no bullshit. I got a 9-minute standing ovation from 45,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in that, Jimmy, is 5-6 minutes, you're enjoying it. All the players come out and they're congratulating you. Then all of a sudden everybody leaves and you're out there by yourself. And it was the only time I was ever on a baseball field. I didn't know what to do. I felt helpless.
Interesting.
Okay. And if you want to get the feeling, if you're married, when you go home tomorrow night, and your wife's cooking in the kitchen, go in the kitchen and stand there for 9 minutes and clap. You won't be able to do it. Believe me, you won't be able to do it. And I just wanted to stop. What's going on with the game? What's going on with the game? And that was a magical, because Jimmy, you know this, you never know what to expect from fans, good, bad, or indifferent. Okay. Right. You'll do something some nights and they'll give you an ovation. Other nights, they won't even stand up and clap. Fans are fickle. You never know what they're going to do.
Right. That's right.
It seemed like everybody at that ballpark that night, I felt like I had iced tea with. They're all my hometown people. And they just started clapping. They kept clapping. They kept clapping. And what happens? Okay, 4, 5, 6 minutes is fine. 7, 8 minutes. Now what happens is you're out there all by yourself and you start thinking about everybody responsible for you being there that are gone. My little league coaches, my big league manager, my dad, my uncle, and my mom was there. But all the baseball people in my life have left us. And you start thinking about them. And that's why I broke down. But it took 8.5 minutes to break me down.
Right.
If I'd have left the field after 8 minutes, I'd have been fine. But that last minute got me. You understand what I'm saying?
But all those people that do that in some way, they're showing their love and their appreciation for you. But in some way, they're all living through you too.
Correct. Especially a hometown boy.
Right.
Yeah. But I grew up on the same little league fields that they grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of my life, where are you from? Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right.
Not Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I played for the Cincinnati Reds. I played for the Philadelphia Phillies. I played for the Expos.
Was it tough when you changed and went to Philly?
No, because the Reds convinced me they no longer wanted my services. Once you convince yourself of that, it's easy to leave. Thank God I had somewhere to go that I wanted to go. And I went to Philly for 5 years. We won a World Series. We went to 2 World Series and playoffs 3 times. So I chose the team I wanted to go to because of the good players they had. And the only problem the Phillies had in the 70s was the Reds. Now, if I leave the Reds to go to the Phillies, they don't have that problem no more. That's the way I looked at it. Okay, you got to find a home. And the Philly fans, I'll tell you, the fans that love me, Jimmy, is I went to Venezuela to play winter ball after the 64 season. Because I rookie the year, and then I had a kind of a bad year. And I went down there and I bust my ass in Venezuela. And they loved me down there. Then we went to Japan for a 15-game series in 78 after the season was over. And I bust my ass in Japan. I got hit in every game but the last one. And I was diving for balls and doing this and doing that. And that's why for so many years, I was the most popular player in Japan, because I didn't disappoint the people.
Right.
I busted my ass in Caracas and in Tokyo and Osaka, just like I did in Cincinnati, just like I did in Philadelphia, and just like I did in Montreal. There's only one way to play, man. You did it. Was it hard? It wasn't hard to do, was it?
No, not when you're used to it every day. You know, to go out and to you disappoint yourself too if you don't.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that when I walked off there, win or lose, I always, the first thing,
you gave your all.
As long as I did that, I was kind of good with it. I was kind of good with it. That doesn't mean losing. I was good with it, but it kind of eased the pain a little bit, saying I couldn't have done anything more.
Right. That's all you can do. You give your best, and if you don't win, come back the next night, give your best. Okay? A little different for tennis, because once it's Sunday, it's the last day, and you lose, you got to wait till next week. Baseball, if you go 0 for 4 on Monday, you can go 4 for 4 on Tuesday. I remember one time, we're playing Montreal, 9th inning, score tie 1-1. Mike Schmidt is 0 for 3 with 9 pitches and 3 strikeouts, which is unusual anyway because he had such a good eye. He's leading off the bottom of the 9th against Jeff Reardon. First pitch, he hits a home run. Now, here's a guy that saw 10 pitches, struck out 3 times, goes around the bases, right to the star of the game show because he had a home run.
Right.
I remember another time, this is a little off color, but it's funny. Tony Perez, he's one of my best friends, okay? And we're playing a game in Cincinnati, and he hits a home run bottom of the 9th to win the game. And in those days, Joe Nuxall, our announcer, did a star of the game show right from next to the dugout where the camera guys were. And Tony goes all the way around the bases, and he goes in to do the show with Joe. And Joe was funny. I mean, Joe was the youngest player ever playing the big leagues, 15 years old. He made the big leagues. And Joe said, Tony was, don't forget he's from Cuba. And Joe said, Tony, he said, congratulations. You hit a home run tonight. What did you hit? And Tony looked at him and said, Joe, he said, I hit a cock-high fastball.
Well, listen, Joe said, no shit. Like it is.
Joe said, no shit.
I'd like to see that drawing on the animation, you know, like the little box that they show the pitch in.
High fastball. That's what he hit. Fastball right there. That was his expression. That's why he couldn't wait to say that. He didn't think he was saying anything wrong because that's what he believed.
You still see a lot of your buddies from the days?
Yeah. Well, of course, we lost Joe about a month and a half ago. He was one of my best friends, Joe Morgan. And Tony and Joe's who I hung around with. And none of us hung around with Johnny because he was the only one was single. So he had things to do every night. We didn't have those things to do on the road like Johnny did. But they're like brothers to me, Jimmy. I mean, you know, I played so many games with him and traveled with him so much and did a lot of appearances with him since we retired. I love those guys. And I love Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, you know, Andre Dawson's the greatest, Tim Raines, of course, Gary Carter, we lost him. But, you know, most of the guys I played with, knock on wood, are still around and we enjoy each other because when we see each other, there's so many good memories. There's so many good memories, so many good days of your life playing in World Series and winning and playing in all-star games and stuff like that. So, you know, I was lucky enough to play in 17 all-star games and we won 16. But back when we played the all-star games, Jimmy, we were playing for league pride.
Mhm.
Didn't have guys changing leagues. We had no DH in our league. DH was in the American League. And when you're playing with Willie and Henry and McCovey and guys like that, I played against Stan Musial one
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a player, and he was a
Mhm.
great guy, Stan Musial. Well, you're from around that area, you know all about Stan Musial.
He was a good friend of my dad's.
Oh, he's one of the top five
Yeah.
players in the history of baseball.
Yeah. Yeah.
He couldn't play that harmonica worth a shit, though. He thought he could, but he couldn't play that harmonica worth a shit.
You couldn't tell him that though.
Yeah.
Well,
Speaking of All-Star game, do you mind if we talk a little bit about 1970?
Sure.
Yeah. What?
Well, here's the deal. I had a friend of mine who was on Cleveland Indians named Sam McDowell, Sudden Sam. Remember that name?
Yeah.
mhm.
He made the All-Star team, and about a week before, someone got scratched from our team, and I already had dinner arrangements. The game was in Cincinnati. I had dinner arrangements with Sam McDowell. I was going to take him out to eat, and he called me and he said, "Listen, they added this kid, rookie catcher we got named Ray Fosse to the lineup, to the roster. Can he go out to eat with?" I said, "Sure. What the hell? I don't care."
Mhm.
So Sam and I and Ray went to dinner, and that guy asked me every question in the world about Johnny Bench, because he was the next Johnny Bench. Now, all of a sudden, I'm on second base, and Jim Hickman's hitting, Clyde Wright's pitching, Amos Otis is playing center field, and Ray's catching, and Leo DeRocher's coaching third. He gets a base hit, and I'm going in the home, and I start to slide, and I look at home, and Ray's got the plate blocked. So if I slide, I'm probably going to break both of my collarbones. So I went over him, and I tagged the plate with this hand right here, and I'm safe. The game is over. But the advantage was the ball was about that far from him. So I hit him before he got the ball. If he'd have got the ball, he'd have planted me in the next week. And I bent over and I said, "You all right?" And evidently he wasn't. I missed the next 3 games. He didn't miss any, and he went on to play 9 more years.
Mm.
But the moral of the story is don't block the plate unless you got the ball with me coming, because I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was trying to keep from hurting myself.
Right.
And to this guy, he's still bitter about that. Several years ago, he commentates for Cleveland Oakland. He does Oakland games.
Right.
He told somebody that he knows I was trying to hurt him. Why would I try to hurt him? I'm
Right.
trying to win the game, and I did. We did
But-
win the game. That's
but-
what
Such a
I
bang
mean.
bang
You
play.
had to be in a clubhouse meeting. We had a president named Warren Giles, who was Bill Giles's dad, who owns the Phillies. Did own the Phillies. Mr. Middleton owns them now. And he would have a clubhouse meeting, and his veins in his neck would pop out. "If you guys don't win this game tonight, you won't make this game next year. I won't pick you to be on this team." And in those days, you wanted an all-star game that gives you negotiating power. Hey, I
Mhm.
made the all-star team. That's worth 10,000.
Yeah.
And this guy was passionate about, I don't know about Nuke Rodney, what kind of clubhouse meetings he had at Notre Dame, but this was just as good. You could see his damn veins popping up. "I want to win this game because I got to prove to the world that the National League is better than the American League. And this is the only place we got it except the World Series. And only one team goes to the World Series.
Mhm.
We won 16 out of 17. Here's the way the game was. I made the All-Star team in 1967 as an outfielder. Okay, I made it as an outfielder. Don't forget, when I was the outfield during my All-Star years, I had to beat out Clemente, Mays, and Aaron.
Mhm.
That was the other outfielders. And the game was 15 innings long, and Tony Perez hit a home run in the top of the 15th. We won the game 2-1. And I didn't get in the game until like the 14th inning. And I made it as an outfielder. When I got in the game, I played second base. And the reason I didn't get in the game till the 14th inning, because I was the only guy left on the bench who could catch. Isn't that weird?
Right.
I made it as an outfielder. I played second. And the only reason I didn't get in the game until the 14th inning, so we had no catchers left except me.
It's crazy.
That tells the story right there.
Yeah.
Play them all. Play all the positions.
Play everywhere, anywhere you
Yeah.
can, right?
Yeah.
Well, but your attitude, rounding third and coming in to score there, you were criticized for that. that
You knocked a catcher down in an all-star game? There was 50 million people watching.
right.
Plus, my dad was in the front row. What am I supposed to say? Oh, go ahead and tag me, Ray. I'm trying to win the damn game.
There you go.
And by the way, Jimmy, the only people who criticized me were American League fans. Okay.
Yeah,
I
interesting.
was one of those guys where the fans would criticize me in Philadelphia, but when I went there to play, they loved me.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
Fans at Dodger Stadium hated me, but if I'd have played for the Dodgers, they'd have loved me.
Mhm.
And once I understood that, it was easy playing the way I played. I'm trying to ruin everybody's hometown victory by winning the game that night on the road.
Mhm.
Okay. The only way the way to shut people up is a base hit. Make a great play. That's the way to shut fans up. Whenever a guy would heckle me during the game at the ballpark, yell at me every freaking inning, you know what I'd do? I would figure out a way before the game was over to throw that son of a bitch a ball. Okay. Where
Mhm.
everybody could see me giving him a ball after this guy screaming at me for 6 innings. He felt about this big. It's almost like he'd want to throw the ball back,
Right.
but everybody wants a baseball.
Kill him
I'm-
with kindness.
In a Dodger Stadium, this guy was pissed at me too. And he's in the front row and I'm playing left field and the ball went in the seats and came on the field. And I picked up the ball and I give it to this guy underhand. And I turn around and run back to my position. He fired a seed, hit me right in the middle of the back with the ball. Now that was a guy who was pissed off at me because I gave him a ball and he still threw it, hit me right in the middle of the back. He threw a seed too. I thought Koufax picked the ball up, hit me with it. Man, that was a pissed off patron right there. He was pissed off.
Yeah, get that guy a tryout.
Oh my gosh.
Do you see anybody in the game today that reminds you of yourself, or is there someone that's at least close that you enjoy watching?
Oh, there's a lot of players that play hard. I can't say anything about Mookie Betts. I can't say anything about Mike Trout. I like Freddie Freeman. A lot of guys play hard, but we don't want to give them credit. There's something about giving guys credit for enjoying what they're doing and playing hard.
Mhm.
But there's more guys that play hard today than don't. Okay. I just stood out because I was in motion all the time. Joe Morgan played hard.
Mhm.
He didn't run the first, or he didn't stretch singles into doubles or doubles into triples. Tony Perez played hard. Okay. But that's the way it came out. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Not everybody's in motion all the time.
Yeah.
Not everybody had the personality of Jimmy Connors. Okay. Half of his deal was his personality and his enthusiasm. He was a great tennis player. We all know that. He had a great backhand. We all know that. But he had more enthusiasm than anybody. He had more energy. Energy gets the job done. It really does. It really does. I can't imagine playing a 5 set of tennis at that level. Man, you got to be on your toes. You got to be on your toes.
But you, the way you talk, Pete, is how important that is to you, to have that attitude and that passion and that love for what you do, and not being afraid to go and lay everything out there. But then, but you got to remember when you played and when I played, that was such a different time.
Yeah.
They were used to genteel and classy and tennis was more country club, right?
Rich man's game.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. So
most people couldn't buy a tennis racket, Jimmy. Okay. Just like, why is basketball so popular today? All the kids need is a pair of sneakers.
Right. Yeah.
At baseball, you got to have a glove, you got to have shoes, you got to have a bat, you got to have a helmet. It's expensive. Today, tennis is probably expensive too because rackets cost a lot of money. A friend of mine, I bet you played against or knew, maybe he was too old for you, Tony Trabert.
Oh, he was.
Cincinnati.
Of course, I knew Tony Trabert. Of course,
he was a good player too.
Oh, of course,
he was before you though.
He was.
Yeah.
He coached the Davis Cup. I was on the Davis Cup team when he was the coach, and he was the commentator for CBS during the U.S. Open. So I got to know Tony quite well.
I think I don't know what you think about this, but I think Patrick McEnroe does a pretty good job commentating.
For ESPN.
Well, for
He's
for
knowledgeable.
ESPN,
He's
he's
knowledgeable.
certainly very exactly. He's knowledgeable and been around it. His older brother was a champion. So he got to see that and get around it and understand that. So yeah, he's very good at filling in.
Right.
And for having somebody that's sitting in their lounge chair and watching the tennis on TV. He's very good at that.
What kind of person was Martina Navratilova?
She's one of my favorites. I love
She could play
Martina.
too. She could play too.
Oh boy, I did some commentating with her for at the U.S. Open a number of years, and got to know her even better after she stopped playing, and it was fun to do with her. But she, it's interesting you bring her up because she was one of the first women that changed the conditioning,
Right.
and being in shape and cross training and things like that, and basically kind of help lay the groundwork for a way a lot of the ladies train now.
When you talk about Billie Jean King, I hit off her brother, Randy Moffat.
Yeah, exactly.
And Martina and people like that, can they be talked in the same breath with Serena Williams?
Well, are you comparing apples to apples?
Yeah.
It's very, I think that's very difficult to do because, Martina was playing at a different time. I think her conditioning and her training and all that was totally different back then. I mean, she kind of forwarded that, a generation,
Right.
but the equipment, the rackets, the power is different, certainly. Strings are a lot different.
Balls are different.
The ball, the balls are different. So, I think if all things being equal and playing with the same equipment and under the same conditions and all that, I think that I'd love to see that match. That would be a hell of a match.
It's just like people ask me all the time, and I really believe this about what I'm about to say. I don't know who the best player was I played against. I played against Marinez, Clemente, Musial. But I always tell people that the greatest player in the history of baseball, without a question, was Babe Ruth. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't think that what Babe Ruth, after the 1919 Black Sox scandal happened, Babe Ruth would go into this town or that town for 3 games. They'd sell out every game to watch Babe. He saved the sport. I don't know if Wayne Gretzky could save hockey. I don't know if Michael Jordan could save basketball. I don't know if Tom Brady could save football, but I do know Babe Ruth saved baseball back in the 20s. And that's why he still has World Series pitching records. If Babe Ruth was playing today, the way these balls fly out of there and how lively the ball is, Babe Ruth, he used to hit more home runs than the whole team that he played against. I mean, the guy was phenomenal. I know he was fat, but he wasn't.
But he did everything.
Yes.
He lived hard.
Yeah.
He lived hard. And I know more about Babe Ruth than anybody because when I broke into the big leagues, we had an announcer named Wade Hoyt, Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame Yankee. He played with Babe. He used to go out with Babe. And I used to ask him every story about Babe Ruth. And Babe was not a liquor drinker. He was a beer drinker. He didn't drink liquor. He drank beer. And Wade said he was just the nicest guy in the world. He loved kids. He always wanted to be around kids. And if he was hitting home runs a day, the way these balls go out of the ballpark, he did 75 home runs. I mean, that's what I believe. Other guys hit 45. He did 20, 25 more home runs just because how strong he was. He was hitting rocks. The baseballs that they played with back in the 20s and 30s, they didn't go nowhere. Hell, I saw a ball the other night, a foul tip hit behind the dugout. This is no bullshit. Hit the cement and bounced up to the second deck. And they're telling me the ball's not juiced.
Right.
I will kiss your ass if the ball's not juiced today. That's fine. It's
Right.
juiced for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. And all these guys on ESPN and all they do is he hit one 474 feet. He hit one 483 feet. Who gives a shit? He got one RBI. He got one run scored.
Right.
Hank Aaron hit 755 home runs and never hit a tape measure home run. He hit line drive home runs. Believe it or not, line drives go out of the ballpark too, not just tape measured home runs.
Right.
They should take a lesson from Hank Aaron. 755 home runs and never hit 50 home runs. He only hit 40 a couple of times.
Do you think the players today even consider going back and looking at tape from the guys in the past, or are they just in their own mindset in this time?
Because Jimmy, I couldn't give a talk today to a clubhouse to talk about hitting. They think I was fucking crazy. What's he talking about? Okay. It's just like one time I talked to Ted Williams. He hit me here. He hit me here. He hit me here. He hit me here. He had me so confused, I didn't know what to do. And I said, Mr. Williams, you may have been the greatest hitter ever, but my philosophy is see the fucking ball and hit the fucking ball hard. He said, well, whatever you're doing a good job with it. He confused me. See, that's one good thing about me talking to kids. I don't confuse kids when I talk about hitting. It's called the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
Okay, because you can really get kids confused today when you start talking about launch angle and this and that, and I don't know where all this came from. Everybody thinks you got to hit the ball in the air. I heard a statistic the other day. Your son probably, Joey Gallo is?
Yeah, I've heard, yeah.
He's been playing a long time. Well, maybe, I don't know if it's 1,600 games or something like that. He's a big home run here for Texas.
Okay.
He's got one sacrifice fly in his career. One.
I think you'd have more by accident.
Ray Charles would have more than that. And he didn't see the ball real well.
That's crazy. One. Do you watch a lot of the games still? Do you watch?
I watch 2 every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting ready to watch the Reds in Washington.
What'd you think about the Dodgers finally coming through last year?
They got a good team. They got a good team this year. I don't know what the hell's wrong with them. They're just, all of a sudden they went into a hitting tank. Bellinger, is he that important to that team? I guess he is.
Yeah.
It's tough when you take the guy right out of the middle of your lineup, because you got other guys to put in there, but they're not producers like he is. They'll be okay. We got a long way to go. We got 115 games to go yet.
Yeah.
Is that too many games?
No, not at all.
No. Yeah, that does the travel and tennis. I was in.
We don't talk about travel. These guys travel first class.
You're right. Yeah, they have their own plane and everything.
Bus right to the bottom of the plane. Get on you don't go through no airports.
You're right.
Plane. The bus meets at the bottom of the plane, takes you to the hotel. You got the big rooms and everything like that. So it's no problem at all. I don't think.
If you were managing today. As you watched, all the games and your perspective on how everything's changed, what would you try to do with your kind of old school ways of thinking to take advantage of a lot of the stuff today that you see?
Well, the most important coach is your pitching coach. Anybody, it's just like hitting coach. Okay, in the last 15 years, 20 years, I could think of one good hitter, real good hitter, that was a hitting coach. You know who it was? Chili Davis. Chili Davis.
Oh, right.
I mean, these organizations, they hire these guys that are AAA players and they're big league hitting coaches. Well, evidently they don't know enough about hitting, or they'd have made the big leagues. I didn't want someone that was a AAA player teaching my kids how to hit. I wanted me to teach my kids how to hit, because who knows more about hitting than me? I didn't want some coach teaching my son how to hit a baseball. I know how to teach them. You got to take time with these kids. You got to make them understand why they're doing this or why they're doing that, because hitting is difficult if you make it difficult. Okay. And if you approach it the right way, it's easy. It's not easy because you make 7 out of 10 outs,
right?
but it's still easier. Okay. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. I'm not going to tell you to swing at strikes. If you told Yogi Berra or Roberto Clemente to swing at strikes only, they'd have been 230 hitters because they'd have lost all their aggressiveness. They were what we call bad ball hitters. You throw a ball over Clemente's head, he'll hit a rope to right field. You throw one right there. How we try to get Roberto Clemente out? Throw the ball right down the middle. Hope he hits it at somebody. Because he was a bad ball hitter. So was Yogi. Yogi was a bad ball hitter. I mean,
Geez, look who you played against. Look who you know. Look at the names that you're bringing up. I mean, that's, you know, for somebody like me or a lot of these young kids who are so interested and love baseball, you know, to hear this, you're talking about these names and you and your association with them. I mean, if that's not inspiring, you know, tell me what is. I mean, how would a kid look at that?
You talk about getting nervous. My first All-Star game was 1965 in Minneapolis. I was just a kid, 3 years in the league. And, you know, in All-Star games, usually on Tuesday, you go Monday for a workout, make sure your uniform's there and your bats are there and everything's there. And I walk in this clubhouse in Minneapolis, and I didn't know the clubhouse guy. He was a nice guy. I'm a locker in between Mays and Aaron. I got Willie Mays here and Hank Aaron here. I'm saying, what the fuck am I doing here? These are two of the greatest baseball players, and I'll never forget those guys. I love those guys. You know why I love them? Because they treated me like I was one of the players. They didn't treat me like a rookie because they were there for the same reason I was, to win the freaking game. And I'll never forget those guys for treating me like that, because they could make you feel like and that's why when I played at Cincinnati, every time we had a rookie player come to the big leagues, I went out of my way to treat him the way you're supposed to be treated, to make him feel at ease, because I know everybody that makes the big leagues is a little nervous. And if you can talk to them and relax them, they're going to be better players. And I've had a lot of players come up to me and thank me for the way I treated them when they walked in the clubhouse for the first time. That's important. I'm sure you talked to a lot of young players who looked up to Jimmy Connors, and you knew they were going to be good players. You probably helped relax them, help them think that they're part of the deal, that they belong here, and they had to work hard to accomplish what you did. Okay, I don't know if you ever talked to players like that, but I did all the time. But you know, you're around yourself before the match in the locker room. I'm around 24 other players,
right?
And 6 or 7 coaches and a manager. So we had a lot of dialogue with young players.
Right, and also tennis being an individual sport, that's my competition.
Yeah,
you know, kind of hard for me and to want my competition to feel relaxed when they played me. You know, I was hoping that they were more nervous. You know, to
well, you got a bat in your hand in my sport, and nobody can help you.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
You got the bat, you got to hit it. You got to hit, and you got to run. You know, you're like me. I think you always wanted to have the edge. The edge was very important.
Yeah.
It give you a better chance of winning.
Yep. I agree.
Edge. If you got the edge, you got a better chance of winning. Did you know your dad was like that? Did you ever see your dad play?
Yeah, I played golf with him a couple times.
Huh? Did you ever see your dad play?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He played long enough. I was born in 79.
You ever see him win a major?
Yeah. When I was like 4. Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
I remember his run in 91 when, you know, he was
did you become a tennis player?
Nah, a little bit, but not
Didn't rub off? Didn't rub off? What are you,
the competitive
crazy?
nature did, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I take everything pretty serious and I compete pretty hard. So
Good. Should I tell your dad that he raised a trash mouth? You're a trash mouth.
maybe just a little bit.
That's a compliment.
That's why I do a podcast.
Pete, you've been so good to spend time with us.
I'd spend all day with you. I could talk to Jimmy Connors all day.
Well, that's what I want to ask you. You know, it's great doing it like this, but when things loosen up a little bit, would you mind if we come and sat down with you in person?
You can sit
and,
down.
and,
I'll
and
buy you
continue
dinner.
this.
I'll buy you dinner.
Well, you know what? We'll take you up on that.
Deal.
And
I don't
we'd,
think
we'd
I don't
love to
think
do it. I
either
mean,
one
we
of you
could,
guys understand how much I really liked you when you played and how you played. Okay, you probably
Thank
said the
you.
same thing about me playing.
I
baseball.
did.
But
Yes.
to me, you were Pete Rose playing tennis, if that makes any fucking sense.
A lot of sense.
But that's the way I looked at it. And I liked McEnroe, but I liked you better because McEnroe seemed like a red ass to me. You got to be a red ass sometimes.
Right.
Okay. But I think McEnroe tried to intimidate the referee sometimes. He didn't ever intimidate you. How are you going to intimidate Jimmy Connors? You probably like McEnroe, right?
We don't take each other out to dinner. Let's put it that way.
and it was probably his attitude. He was a good player, no question about it. But he didn't have the things that Jimmy Connors had as far as being in front of the people. You know, he wanted the people.
We were different.
He wanted the people to hate him. You were conscientious about the people loving the way you played. That's why you played like you did. It worked.
Mhm.
Your style worked. Okay. My style worked.
Right.
I don't know if it worked today, but I'm going to keep trying.
Well, listen, you got to do what fits you. Your personality fits you. Everybody's got their own, and
everybody has expertise. And the sooner you learn your expertise and just go out and do them. What I mean by that is if you can run, run. If you can hit, hit. If you can field, field. Okay. If you can win, win. That's the way it is. Don't try to do something you can't do.
Yeah, good
You
point.
see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. In other words, you're not 280 pounds trying to steal a base, or you're not 280 pounds trying to bunt for a base hit. It just doesn't work that way. Everybody has something they can do. Go out and do what you can do on a consistent basis, and you'll be successful.
Pick out that restaurant. We're going to come see you soon.
I'm going to take you to a restaurant called Michael's. Got the best fucking Dover sole in the world. They fly it in every 2 days.
Oh boy.
Sounds good. I like that.
But you can't wear shorts.
I think that'll be okay.
The only guy that's allowed to go in there to wear a hat. Don't ask me why. All right, guys. Take care. Have a great day.
Awesome.
Pete, you're the best. It's been great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome. See you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.